I would like to call the June 16th, 2021 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:30. Mr. Town Manager, do we have a need for a non-public session?
Madam Chairperson, we do.
Can you...
RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, lowercase e, pending litigation.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, minutes of June 2nd. Does anybody have any corrections or changes? Brian?
Yes. I would like it on page 6, right above Dave Senecal's motion, after biggest cost would be $7,500, to let the record state that Brian Deshays objected to the motion to approve support for the fireworks only for the date of July 2nd. I believe the better option was the motion to support the fireworks on any date.
Okay, and you'll get that to the secretary?
Yes.
Thank you. I have two changes. The first one is on page 3, and I'd like it right after the motion at the top, and it should read, I do not think the health insurance / employee benefits should be included in the cost calculation for building fees. And then on page 7, the third sentence down, I said that I had met with the chairman of the Budget Committee and Police Commission, so Police Commission needs to be added. That's the only changes I have. Does anybody else have any changes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to accept as amended?
So move. Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Brad?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
I'm yes.
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 I guess I'm not going to call the roll anymore because we are in person now that we've done that. So that's the last roll call. We'll just do it the other way. All righty. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. Before we get into the public hearing, the board needs to approve the Independence Day Parade, and I have people here from the American Legion, and will you update us on where we are, and so we can take a vote?
I had some copies made up of something that I thought it was going to be illegal to print, but to go over historically the thing about the parade. Last January, we had a meeting whether to have a parade or not, and it was decided then that there was just too much, controversy and a lot of emotion and fear of, excuse me, of COVID. So we tabled it, and then the issue came up again about 3 months ago. It's still controversial, but then we had people who were really for the parade. Of course, there were some people that were against the parade. So we decided, well, let's come up with some guidelines and see if we can meet these guidelines to allow us to have a parade. Maybe with these parameters where it would be safe to proceed with a parade. I'm going to introduce Paul Vivian, who does all the paperwork, and he's put these figures together. And if you've been following it, this thing is totally transparent. We're not hiding anything. It's in the news. We were trying to achieve. At first, it was a matter of herd immunity, but then there's some controversy about what is herd immunity. So we decided, or it was decided, that, hey, let's take the number of people that are vaccinated. That is, that's in black and white. And I'll let Paul go ahead and proceed with that. And after that, I'll tell you what this, if we get approval, what this parade's going to be about. Paul?
Well, thank you. I passed out to all of the selectmen here the latest data as of this morning from the Washington Post and the Johns Hopkins Center for the Study of Disease. And as you can see, we've hit the mark. One of the criteria that we originally outlined was that 70% of the population of New Hampshire and New England have at least one COVID vaccine shot. The reason we said only one rather than two, which of course two is most desirable, but with one you have an 80% efficacy according to the CDC. And just looking at those numbers alone, that is people with one shot in New Hampshire and our New England, we're 69.5% already in New Hampshire, and every other state, I hate to say this, but every other state in New England has beat us. 74% in Maine, 82% in Vermont, 78% in Massachusetts, 75% in Connecticut, and 71% in Rhode Island. So we were leading there for a while, and I'm sure once the data gets there, fully reported, we're going to be well above the 70% mark in a few days. If you look at the vaccination rates for the counties in New Hampshire, which is your second page, again, when this started out, Carroll County was at the bottom, and now we're second from the top. Now, I can't explain why it goes up and down so much, but right now in our own county, we're looking at 56% of people of all ages being vaccinated, as opposed to the percent of eligible, 64% for 18 and above, and for us old codgers, that's 78%. So I guess that's another way of saying we've come to appreciate the importance of the vaccination rate. The other criteria we talked about were hospitalization rates. And again, we look at hospitalization rates throughout New England are down. New Hampshire is at 38%, and then you can see Vermont 50, Maine 20, Massachusetts 28, Connecticut 22, and Rhode Island 16%, all down in hospitalization rates, which of course is a positive thing. The only kind of negative blip on this are the number of covert cases. There was a 34% increase in New Hampshire last week, but that, when you look throughout the state of New England, again, it's down, 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 down. So while the cases are down, and apparently most of these tend to be among the young and the people who are not yet vaccinated, which tend to be 12 years old and under, that partially explains that. The other criteria we were looking at is at the arrival of any new variants. As you can see on the last page here, or second to the last page, where New Hampshire stands in terms of new variations. Like every other state, we've seen some appear, but right now, it doesn't look like we have any new variant that's about to overwhelm the population. Now, I say that with caution because ideally we need to get more and more people vaccinated so that by this fall, the likelihood of a second outbreak of COVID-19, of COVID from one of these other variations, will be small to non-existent. So it's important to encourage that. And then our final statistic is looking at the United States as a whole. And as you can see, the reported cases are down, reported deaths are down, hospitalizations are down. I think one can say with a pretty clear case can be made that we have achieved the criteria that we outlined when we first brought this up 3 months ago. That's not to say there isn't more room for success in this area, but I think it's fair to say that the vaccination rates with at least one vaccine are high enough to warrant holding a parade this year. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have one question, and it has to do with you're going to do a rain date on July 5th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are you going to do it at 1 o'clock, or is there going to be a change in time? And the reason I'm asked, we're going to put in a parking ban, and I want to make sure we put it at the right time.
I'm going to say yes. We'll start in the morning like we usually do, because the reason we have it later in the day on the 4th is because it's a Sunday, and people are going to be going to church, and the last thing we need is to have additional congestion because of people leaving church.
So if it's a rain date, you're not going to start at 1, you're going to start it at 10?
That's correct.
Okay. Other board members, does anybody have any questions or comments?
If not, I'll turn it over to Tom Sutton.
Well, why don't I first get a vote out of the board to approve it, and then he can tell us exactly what's going to happen. Or do I have somebody who wants to make a motion?
Make the motion to approve the Independence Day Parade hosted by the American Legion on Sunday, July 4th at 1 p.m. with the rain date on Monday, July 5th at 10 a.m.
I second.
And Brian seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have your parade. Now come tell us what it's going to be.
Thank you very much. I mean, this has been a real emotional thing. I don't think I need to repeat that, but hopefully people will be happy that we have a parade. We hope it'll be pulled off safely. When the parade was sort of canceled, put aside in January, the question came up, well, what are we going to do? There's no parade. I said, well, you guys are going to have to come up with some alternatives. Well, I'm going to read some of the alternatives, which are going to go on along with the parade. And hopefully some of these other events will grow and make this a real festival. There's a lot of people that didn't have time to decide whether they want to jump in on this. But I think once they see how successful we hope this will be, it will continue. It will continue. You know, some people would come to town for the parade, stay late, watch the fireworks, and leave. Now there's some reason to hang around for a bit, which is great for the town, great for business, great for the community. So, let me fill you in a little bit on what we're doing. Now, this isn't exact quite yet. I don't think you see fireworks on Friday night, right, Amy?
Friday night, yes. Fireworks.
Friday night, there'll be fireworks. The second, which is Friday, WASR is going to be down at Kate Park, and then we're going to be playing music and interviewing people, so that'll kind of get the ball rolling. On the 3rd, there'll be a concert in Kate Park. On the 4th, Kate Park Band and Kate Park events. Oh, the fireworks late, excuse me, that was in there. Goodhue Hawkins was kind enough to get these things started and printed out. We'll hopefully have some real ones that don't say proof across them. But there's going to be a boat parade sponsored by Goodhue Hawkins, and that'll be on the 3rd. It'll be interesting. I should have brought a map. It's going to start at the Lilly Museum, go through Winter Harbor on the where the beach is. Go around there, come out to the Broads, come over into Wolfeboro Bay, and then back up at Goodhue Hawkins. We don't know how many people are going to take part. This is the first time we've done this. I don't know if anybody else has tried pulling something off like this. Lake Wentworth put a parade on, their homeowners association put one on last year. They had a lot of fun and it was very successful. So we kind of took a little clue from them. They're also having a fishing tournament. But this parade could be huge. And like I say, I expect there'll be a lot of media coverage, which will be great for the town. The Lions Club came out and they're going to put on a car show. They've had experience. They put on car shows in other towns in New Hampshire. So we're counting on them to do their car show. We aren't telling anybody what to do, just, hey, put on the car show. So Wentworth is having their parade and a fishing derby. And then the annual Independence Day parade starting at 1 o'clock on the 4th. To that, I might add, one of my favorite things that I didn't know about, there's going to be a ferry walk on the 3rd of July, starting at 9 a.m. There'll be more information coming out about that. That's one of my favorite, because I got 2- and 3-year-olds coming to town, and I think it'll just be a blast. If you have any questions? There may be some other things added here, but hopefully this is a start. A start for the town, a start for our celebration, and keep growing. And it'll help the town in so many ways. Thank you.
And on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I want to thank the American Legion for all the work and time to make this happen this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proposal to provide trolley service for the 4th of July parade. Kathy, do you want to talk to it, or would you like me to? Okay. I asked Kathy whether the trolley, Molly the trolley, would be willing to run and bring people down from the high school down into the downtown for the 4th of July parade, because we closed down the downtown to parking. One of the things that happened, not last year, but the year before, there are a group of older people who were unable to get down into the downtown. So Kathy gave us 2 possible scenarios for Molly the trolley. The first one is that the town could pay $500, and that's a discount from $750, and it'd be a free charter all day long. The second option is Molly the trolley is willing to give half price for those people going down into the parade. And that's an all-day pass, Kathy, for that amount? Okay, it's an all-day pass, and it would be for $4 for adults, $2 for children, 4 to 12, and as always, children under 4 are free. So I didn't know what way the board would like to handle this. There's a part of me that would like to take out of our miscellaneous account $500 to support this great effort and get as many people as possible downtown, but I want to see what the board would prefer to do.
I'll make a motion to get on the floor for discussion anyway, that the town that we authorize the expenditure for the cost of all of the trolleys transportation on the day of the 4th of July parade, and to expend funds from line 45831-830 in the amount of $500 to cover this cost.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I just think it would be a nice, on behalf of the town to provide that service for the people because we're putting the ban on the parking downtown where a lot of people do in the past have come. So I think it'd be a nice, gesture on our part to provide them the access to get them into town to watch the parade.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody else have any comments who'd like to say anything? I'm with you. I think it's another way to show how important this 4th of July is and to get as many people downtown. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. Kathy?
Thank you. I think it's, Molly the Trolley is very, very happy to be part of this and to support the effort, knowing that we're closing off that area. We will be contacting Kingswood Regional High School and letting them know what you'd like to do. The Governor Wentworth School District, I'm confident that they have enough parking spaces, they'll be able to do that. But we'll take care of that piece of it. We'll ask for their permission to use that. I've already spoken with Chief Rondo about this and talked about how we're going to do it. An opportunity now just to let you know the things we've talked about. Also discussed it with Harold Chamberlain and how we're still want to make sure Molly can be in the parade. So we'll start early, bringing people downtown, and we'll drop off. Our plan right now is to drop off at Pickering Corner, at the Town Hall, at Durgan Stables, and at the Wolfeboro Inn, and then we'll turn around up at the Inn on Main and come right back through and go up to the high school. We will continue right up until about, the parade is stepping off at 1 o'clock, is that right? Or 2 o'clock, right?
1.
1 o'clock? Is it 1 o'clock? Okay, I heard two different things. So it's stepping off at 1 o'clock, so 12:30 will probably be the last shuttle. Maybe a little earlier, we'll look at that, and then so that we can go up, line up, and be ready to join the parade. Come back through, we'll circle right around and probably go down 109A, Bay Street, Mill Street, so we get up behind the parade so that we'll be there to take people back. But one thing, we did this 2 years ago when we closed off just the downtown. We can get people down. Getting them back is the greater challenge because of the confluence and the congestion of traffic as everybody gets ready to leave town. So, but everybody who was sitting on the trolley while we were in that traffic said, that's okay, I'd rather sit here, and they were happy about that. But I think we want to encourage people that rather than sit on the trolley, if you want to just get an ice cream cone or go down to the docks or look at the windows or maybe go into a store, you could do that for half an hour to an hour, and then things clear out pretty fast and it'll be easier to get back. The chiefs assured me that where they do have officers, like at Pickering Corner, they'll watch for the trolley, so they'll try to move it along as they can through that traffic, but people are going to have to be patient getting back to their cars. But we do hope that people may also consider dropping their family off downtown, perhaps, and then going up and taking the trolley down so that you don't have 8 members, from one family getting on the trolley, so we can move as many car loads as we can. So you drop people off with your chairs or whatever downtown, go up to Kingswood, then ride the trolley back, and then, go back up. So whatever, we're going to find out how well it's going to work, because we have the greater parade route now. But those are just things I wanted to share that the community might hear about as well through the community television, so that they'd be prepared for that. We hope to get more publicity about how that will work as well. So,
Will you get something out on Facebook too?
Yeah, we'll get it out
Okay.
on Facebook, and we'll get it out on our website. We'll get an article in the paper along with, we got a little bit, last time we didn't have even enough time to do that. It was strictly word of mouth. So, and we still 2 years ago carried about 100 people. So we're hopeful that we'll get 2 or 3, so I don't know how many parking spaces there are, but if we can make up for as many of those parking spaces that we're losing right on Main Street, that'll take care of that, and especially for those people who just don't feel, who can't walk all the way from the municipal parking lot or whatever. So anyway, we'll see how it all goes. We'll all work together to do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. There's one last thing before we get into the public hearings. Mr. Pinio, would you talk about the fireworks?
Yeah. So as you're aware, we've partnered with a private business to have a fireworks display on July the 2nd We've been actively working with Brewster Academy. Brewster Academy is going to open up the campus at 7 p.m. on July 2nd for people to come in, park, and watch the fireworks display. We'll be working with them to provide porta potties, whatnot, on site. And what we would really ask is that if people do partake in the fireworks and they do go to Brewster to sit at the fields and watch, be respectful of their property and just please clean up after yourself. Very excited that Brewster was able to open up the campus for this event. After that event is over, they will go back to the same model that they're under right now, where the campus is essentially closed off, but they are opening up for that display.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to say again, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I want to thank Wolfeboro Jet Ski, Nate Druin, for taking the initiative to get the permit for the barge and allowing the town to partner with them. And Brian, what kind of fireworks is this going to be?
According to the fireworks company and Nate, it's going to be the largest fireworks display Wolfeboro's ever had.
So there we are. And so I want to thank him. I also want to thank Brewster Academy for opening up a campus to the community. That's where most of us go to watch the fireworks. Molly the Trolley and the Legion, and it shows what a community can do when we get together. So thank you, all of you. All righty, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Is the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at the Great Hall, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, regarding limiting vehicle parking on the 4th of July, 2021, rain date 7/5/2021 in downtown Wolfeboro from Clark Road to Lakeview Drive from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the purpose of the Independence Day Parade. Visitors will be towed at the owner's expense and fined $50. And I have the chief of police here. Do you want to talk to this parking ban? And also, we're going to have to change the time if it goes to the 5th because the parade's going to start at 9. So we'll pass this with an adjustment for a rain date.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is no mystery. This is what we did a couple of years ago. During the parade, there was a parking ban. This facilitates safety. It facilitates being able to watch the parade unobstructed. And in terms of the parking ban, we'll go ahead and post the notice at least a couple of days, at least a couple of weeks out, not later than 10 days out. And we'll have my officers down there checking, and we'll try to get in touch with the owner should there be some violations. We'll take every measure we can not to have to tow a vehicle. We don't want to have to do that. So with that being said, what are your questions?
So, Dave.
2 years ago when you had the no parking thing, were there any issues with that from Mill Street to Clark Road?
There were no real issues. We had a couple of individuals, for whatever reason, didn't see the notices, or if they did see the notices, they didn't obey the notices. And
Were they this side of Mill Street?
yes, they were right down, actually, right down in front of our Garwoods. So those vehicles were towed.
My own problem I have is that this is quite a long area,
It is.
and I think that I have not seen any issues above Sewell Road in the past because of the white lines and the space between the white lines and the sidewalks or whatever. I think you're covering, in my opinion, too much area. I would prefer to go back to what we had before, was it from Sewell Road to Clark Road? I don't have any issues with that, but I mean, there's plenty of places above there, like I said, outside the white lines, and the same down at Brewster Academy and that area. There's plenty of curb space there. I personally don't agree with that much space.
Sure, I'm happy to have the parking ban in the downtown area for the congested part of the parade. If the team here on the Board of Selectmen and the town manager feel as though they want to limit that parking ban, that's certainly a discussion that this group can have, and I'm fine either way, whatever happens.
Linda?
Brian?
Chief, wasn't the, one of the reasons for having the extended length of the parking ban to spread out the crowds?
That's correct.
And yes, we're safe, and the American Legion gave all the documentation to prove it, but it's still good, especially when some people want their space right now a little bit.
So you're absolutely correct, and in light of approving this, and I would agree with everything the Legion has put out, and I would certainly agree that we're moving in the right direction relative to seeing decreases in COVID-19. With that being said, this was a protective measure to ban parking along the entire route, to give more people an opportunity to spread out and to practice social distancing for those who wanted to continue to practice that. However, Dave brings up a very good point, and I'm certainly not opposed to that. I think that's a discussion that the board and the town manager have to have in terms of what they want to do. I'm thrilled, trust me, to have the parking ban in the constricted part. I do think it's a good idea, at least this year, to try to give the max opportunity for distancing and spacing. Last thing, and not to be a killjoy, but I think we're all paying attention to the variant that has popped up in India. And I'm sure that variant is going to make landfall here in the United States if it hasn't already done so. Now, for those of us who have had the COVID-19 shot, we're protected against that variant. That variant is proving to be very deadly and very contagious, even much more so than the UK variant of COVID-19. So with that being said, there is some increased concern, at least from my perspective, that we're not necessarily out of the COVID-19 crisis just yet, though I would agree that all of the indications right now are that it is on the decline, and we want to keep it that way. So there are things that we need to think about.
Okay, let me open up the public hearing, and let's see if we get any comments from anybody in the public. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak to this parking ban? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We've had 2 comments. Does any other board member have any comments, directions on how they would like to move forward with this?
Yeah, I'll make some more comments.
Okay, Dave?
Well, I think the last time we had this issue from, I think it was Sewell Road up to Clark Road, and the reason for it basically was to create the impact of people crowding in the downtown area, and I think that worked.
It did, and there was a couple of reasons a couple of years ago that we felt particularly justified in seeking to change what we've done from past practice. The first was safety, as you said. Second was to create a greater, or eliminate the gaps, create a greater line of sight for those in the parade and those that were driving the big floats and the trucks and so forth and so on. The third is we were expecting a larger than normal crowd that year because it was the following year was going to be an election year, and we wanted to get this into practice. If everybody remembers correctly, we wanted to put this in practice in 2019, so when we had to do it in 2020, presumably for the entire route, that we've had at least a year under our belt to work through any issues. All of those were good ideas, and the feedback I got at the end that I received from those in the parade and those that were watching the parade was that it was one of the best things we have ever done. You know, the people could see the parade, they had plenty of room to spread out, we could get more people in the downtown area, and the drivers of the floats and the big trucks and so forth had plenty of line of sight, or at least increased line of sight, and it was, I think, safer. So those were some of the reasons we did it. Now in COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 or soon to be post-COVID-19, whatever term we want to use, I think the idea of distancing is good. I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Brian?
The only other thing that I'm considering is from Sewell to Old Lakeview Terrace is not a long strip of property.
No, it's not.
You're not going to get a lot of cars there, even if you allow them to park.
No, you're not.
So you're going to really have an impact on a minimal amount of people.
That's correct.
And I do walk down and have for 20 years plus from Old Lakeview Terrace down, and with both cars on both sides of the street, it can be precarious. There isn't a sidewalk on one side. People are walking along the hill. People come out in between the cars. People are walking in the street because there's cars parked on the edge. So to me, it makes sense. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment? I'm comfortable with the full parade, and I thought we did it because of the safety from kids coming out from between cars, having the big trucks coming down a hill, having good visibility, and we have seen this a number of times, so I'm going to support it as written. Anybody else want to make a comment or help with the discussion here, or shall I call it for a vote? Okay. I also want to show that this is going to be the signs that are going to go around downtown, letting people know the parking ban. So, do I have somebody who'd like to give a motion? Brian.
Move the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to enact a temporary parking ban on July 4th, 2021, rain date July 5th, 2021, to limit vehicular parking in the downtown Wolfeboro from Clark Road to Old Lakeview Terrace from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the purpose of the Independence Day Parade. From 9 a.m. until noon on the 5th for the rain date for the purpose of Independence Parade. Violators will be towed at the owner's expense and fined $50.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So I have 1 opposed, 4 in favor. Correct? All righty. That passed. We'll put in the full parking ban. Okay. Next public hearing is the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit to host the annual live animal show on Wednesday, July 7th, 2021 to August 11th, 2021 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at 755 North Main Street outside due to COVID-19. This is the Libby Museum. Do I have anybody here who'd like to speak to this event? I may have somebody on.
Yeah, I believe Ms. Lennon is online to speak to this. Director Lennon?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Barely. Can you please speak up?
How is this?
Better.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just hoping to put on the live animal shows again this summer.
Thank you, Frank.
They've taken place inside in the past, but I was planning this event back in January or February, so I decided to put them outside due to COVID. Other than that, I don't have much to say. I think it's all in the application.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak to this event? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any comments? Brad?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to it here. This is an event that the Libby Museum has done for a number of years. Kids love coming up to it, seeing they bring different types of animals each week up there for the kids to enjoy and stuff, and a little educational for them to learn about them and the habitats and everything. It's sponsored by the Friends of Libby Museum. Raise their money and to pay for these events programs they do each summer up there. So it's a great event, and Kat's done a lot of thought into this of keeping outside, using the gazebo area there so the animals will shade and stuff. So it should be a good time. So.
And I think it's animal encounters or wildlife encounters, and it gets huge number of kids coming whenever they come to town, so I think that's great. Any other members of the board, any comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue a temporary event permit to the Libby Museum to host the annual live animal shows on Wednesdays from July 7th, 2021 to August 11th, 2021 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at 755 North Main Street, outside due to COVID-19.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? They've got their permit. All right, I'll open up the next public hearing. Is the Wolfeboro Selectmen consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Lions Club to host a car show at the Nick on July 3rd, 2021 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as part of the 4th of July Festival. Is there anybody here from the Lions Club who'd like to speak to this event? Just state your name for the record.
My name's Gina Lassard, member of the Wolfeboro Lions Club. We're asked by the Lions Club to be part of their 4th of July festival and host a car show, so we're going to give it a shot. It's free, open to the public, free to cars to come. It's at the Neck. There's plenty of free parking, off-street parking. We hope it doesn't rain and we have a good turnout.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that and adding to it. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this public hearing? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to issue a temporary event permit to the Wolfeboro Lions Club to host a car show at the Nick on July 3rd, 2021 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as part of the 4th of July festival.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All righty, we'll move on to an amendment to a previously granted temporary event permit. It's for All Saints, a summer fair permit on July 17, 2021 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they're requesting to amend the time from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'll open up the public hearing. Do I have anybody who wants to make a comment? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions? Hearing none, somebody want to make a motion to amend that permit?
So I'll move to amend the time of the Wolfeboro All Saints Summer Permit on July 17th from 10 to 2, requesting amended time 9:30 to 1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Brad. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, the next event, this came in late, so we were unable to put the notice up, and the board has two options. The board can approve the temporary event request without the necessary public notice, or we could hold a special meeting on June 23rd to allow the necessary posting, the necessary posting requirements. The posting is within-house on the board and on the town website. I just wanted to make sure the board knew that they had those two options. Does anybody have a preference? My only concern, if we do one without the proper notice, will we get into having more of those if somebody else comes in late? So my feeling would be that we come in quickly on the 23rd and grant the permit, give the notice, and do it based on our ordinance. Dave?
You have a bit of a conflict on the 23rd in that the Zoning Board of Adjustment has a meeting here. At 7, they have viewings at 5:30.
was it from?
Zoning board,
Zoning board.
5:30 to 7, and then the meeting starts at 7.
Board, we'd go, take another day. We could come in, I mean, it's about a 2-minute. We could come at 5:15 or pick another day.
Or you could come in at like 6 o'clock or something, because the meeting doesn't start until 7.
Okay, I mean, we're talking about, I would say most 5 minutes. Open the meeting, close the meeting, do it. So do you want to hold one at 6 o'clock on June 23rd for this one item?
Yes.
Is there anybody who has a problem with that? Thanks, Dave, for bringing that up. Okay. I just got a text saying that there is a comment. Can you pull up the comment on the chat from Mary DeBreeze?
That's previous, it's relative to the parking.
Okay. Sorry, Mary, I didn't see that.
Linda, can we make sure that for this permit for the Children's Center, that all the I's and T's are in place so that it is, we don't have to come back again to it?
Well, part of the reason it is not have all the T's and I's is because it didn't come in on time. And very good point on why we're coming in another day to do it, and I agree. All the other ones that we had everything put together.
Yeah, and usually they're pretty good about getting theirs in a timely fashion with all of the appropriate documentation.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public input. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to give us some public input? Got a lot of people who are very quiet tonight. All righty. We'll move on from public input to bulk vote. The weekly manifest of June 4th was $435,158.90. The week of June 11th, which had a payment to the school system, was $1,983,171.47. We have property tax abatement. We have one intent to cut. We have it on 2 parcels. We have a taxpayers RSA 76:21 probation application to a municipality, and we have 2 raffle permits, one to the American Legion and one to the Lions Club for its car show. Can I have a motion to accept the bulk vote?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. We have no appointments. The next item on the agenda is an appointment with Richard Curran on net metering policy. Come on up.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Rick Corian, and I live on Suncrest Drive in Wolfeboro. That's off of Beach Pond Road, right above Upper Beach Pond, for those who don't know. And I think it's important for the Select Board to fully understand some of the qualifications in the net metering policy, and that in particular is Article 1, qualification, paragraph B. It's on page 2. And this was added in January of 2020, which is a change from the previous net metering policy. And I got involved in this starting in 2018 when my goal was to build a net zero home. And during that year, as a part of the construction, we installed a 5-kilowatt photovoltaic array And with the idea that, you know, in the future, probably have to add more capacity, not knowing what the full demand of the house would be before you're actually living. And as it turned out, after 2 years of monitoring, you know, electric bills and the output of the array, I deemed that I would have to add another 6 kW or 6,000 watts to the system for a total of 11 kilowatts. And in the permitting process, it came to my attention these changes, and realized that couldn't go forward. It would be a delay of at least a year to determine peak demand. And that being said, going forward, that would be any new home, you couldn't install any photovoltaics or any alternative energy, be it wind or hydroelectric power. So just be aware of that. And after talking with Barry came up and they put in a demand meter, and I was told that he could monitor it for a month, which he did, the month of March, and he could extrapolate out to what peak demand was. And his determination was that based on peak demand, I could add another 2.5 kilowatts. And of course, my peak demand would be wintertime. And the house is all electric. There's no fossil fuels. And, so people have to be aware of this peak demand. It's an interesting thing. It goes over a 20-minute period, measures every 20 minutes, and picks out a peak demand in that time frame. Some of the issues with that is if you have existing alternative energy, he really can't determine your peak demand because he's not aware of what the alternative energy is supplying. That doesn't get metered. He meters what is produced that the home doesn't use, what goes back onto the grid. So it's impossible to know. Now, probably my peak demand with photovoltaics is going to be at nighttime, in the winter probably. So probably not an issue in this case. But if it happened to be in the summer with cooling, with air conditioning running, he wouldn't be able to tell me that. You can't determine peak demand. And that's one of the issues that I think needs to be addressed. And part of this peak demand, he's basing it on how the building or the house is being used in the present. Well, other codes all don't apply to how it's being used in the present. It's how it could be used. Take a septic system, based on the number of bedrooms, not by the number of people in the building. Your electrical service, an electrician determines what the size of your electrical panel needs to be based on the equipment installed in the house. And in that light, if the new owner came and had young children, I don't have children, but the use changes and the demand would change. Demand would change, and as the family grew, the demand probably would drop. So it's a moving thing, and I don't think it should be based on that type of thing. You never know. And if I plan to get an electric vehicle in the future, which I do, and install a charger for that, well, the demand goes up. So what do? Go back and new demand, and now you start piecemeal. So these are issues that I think that as you read this, it sounded very innocuous. It didn't sound like much, but as always, it's never quite as simple as it appears. And part of my feeling is that I don't know if you could build a net zero house in this town. It's yet, I know I can't, based on, it wouldn't be a net zero house. And a house is built right from the ground up as a net zero house. Over and super insulated. All the windows are triple pane. All LED lighting. Heat pumps for heat and air conditioning. So it's an unattainable goal as it appears right now. And what it's doing, if I wasted energy and built a less efficient house, I can install a larger alternative energy system. It seems backwards to me. You should be rewarded for making the effort. And this town is to go beyond a net zero house and produce any excess is just a complete waste. Most other states and areas, you get to sell back or give excess to another use. In this town, there's none of that. So the idea is you want to hit net zero, don't go beyond. There's no encouragement to generate any more green energy. And you should be encouraged. It's where we're going. It's coming. And it's not gonna be stopped. It should be rewarded. And it's impossible. And even in the master plan. So you should be aware. And just another little light I didn't get into, but it may be interesting to look at paragraph C and the limit on that. And Barry's here. Barry could speak to some of this. It's beyond. I never investigated that, but I feel like it's just overly restrictive and not encouraging any alternative energy. And I think that's not the goal. I don't think that's the message the town's putting out. And I don't know that other people where you can build a new house, but you're not going to add any alternative energy. You're going to have to wait until, so you can't, not knowing what you can do, how do you, it's going to have to be an add-on. It can't be part of the construction. And I feel it's an issue that should be addressed. And, you know, maybe I'll look at it and adjust this policy or something. I feel that the 90%'s all right, but the demand of the house should be figured by an electrician. And what the house, that's how they size an electrical panel to start with. And I think that's the only fair way to do this, because otherwise you're chasing a moving target. And if anybody's got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Well, what I would like to do, I want to thank you for coming, and I'm wondering whether I can turn it over to Brian to take to the Energy Committee, and that you get to the Energy Committee and take a look at that, because they've been active in developing this policy. And that's, Barry, you go to that. Do you want to make a comment? I'm fine. Board member, anybody have?
And I did speak with the Energy Commission.
You talked to the committee already?
Yes, I did. I spoke to, is it Linda? Can't think of her name.
Nancy Hirschberg?
Nancy?
Nancy.
Okay.
I did speak with Nancy.
Nancy Hirschberg.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric Ochoa for Electric Department. So the reason that clause was added with the 90% of your demand, I understand that customers are trying to get as most they can out of the system that's linked to their home. But I also have to look at it from a perspective of the utility and the safety of our workers. And the idea is that excess energy flow back into the system suddenly reverses all our fusing coordination. It also affects all our equipment on the street. Transformers would have to be upgraded. Service drop wires would have to be upgraded. If that's the case, National Electric Code doesn't allow you to exceed 80% of the rating of this equipment. And I don't think that was ever the intent of net metered equipment. So that's why I added in there. It's not uncommon. It is quite common to have a 90% restriction. And that is the reason. If we have somebody outputting more electricity than they're intaking, understand that's a reverse electric flow, not just on a service wire, but it could be the whole street. The way electric equipment, distribution equipment is set up, it's all fused by downstream coordination. It's not set up to, accommodate reverse flow of electricity. And so we're trying to avoid that. 99% of the time, it's never going to be an issue. Rick has sort of because he's trying to do net zero, and there's ways to pull that off. I mean, they're not cheap. You can do battery packs. We have systems right now that are putting in these batteries that they can charge those, and then they can offload those to our system during hours where the sun's not out or whatnot. I mean, that's really where it's going to head to achieve net zero. But that was my mindset to it, and it is not uncommon. So his system as sized, or as he wants to size, would certainly be much larger than any of our residential systems. Systems of that nature, suddenly you have to derate your main electric service main breaker. You have to do things such as do line side taps on your service so they don't have a breaker. You're tapping right into the line because a 200 amp service is a 200 amp service. That's just simply not allowed by utilities. Because then you have wires that are unprotected in a customer's home. So I'm doing it for both parties. I'm trying to keep it safe. My guys, my work is in our system, and we raised it as high as we could. It could in fact be a moving sort of target. We have a demand meter at Mr. Currien's home right now, so I will always be able to tell what his demand is. I can simply read it and reset it on a monthly basis. And if he proves to me that 90% rule is no longer working for him, he has that right to do that, to increase his. You have capacity. I think you can increase it, 2.5 kW right now? You could do about 2.5 is what I figured out. So you can get closer to where you want to be, but so anyways, that was my mindset.
Thank you, Barry.
I'll speak a little bit of that. You got to understand that any installation we do would meet the National Electrical Code, and there'd be no line side taps. There's other ways to do this, and he's 100% right. You can't go over on a 200 amp service at more than 160 amps, 20%, 80% load, and that's fine, and that would all be met. And as far as safety, these systems, when the grid goes down, the system shuts off. It has to be that way. It's part of the system built in, and in fact, Barry has tested that. As part of the approval, he goes, I pull the meter, and it has to shut the array down, which it does do. And part of this new policy, by the way, the first part of that paragraph, it allows 100 kW, which is up from what the previous one was 25 kW. I want to go to 11. And everything that the house doesn't use, and it actually cuts down what goes into the house. And I don't know how you have to increase the size of the service when service draw lines and drops. It's not using any more. Because if anything the Ray produces goes to the house first. He's never supplying 200 amps to the house and I'm sending, 50 amps back. That doesn't happen. So I don't really understand the changing of the equipment size. And it's, as I say, it's never simple. But gladly address the Energy Commission at any time. I do believe it's, and this town does have a very unfriendly net zero policy, I gotta tell you. I know in Maine, you can, any excess you produce beyond what you use, you can give it to somebody else. You don't get cash for it, but other states, any excess produced goes on the green energy market and gets sold. You know, because some states they got to produce so much green energy, and they don't. Some companies have to produce so much green energy, and they can't. They buy it on the market. So it's not. It's just in this town. It's just you get a credit, and it's there forever. Nothing you can do. Any questions, Brian?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, have you done any research just to see how other utility companies in New Hampshire handle this and how they work with net metering or other areas of the country? I mean, you have to figure in Florida that there's a lot of solar and there's a lot of energy flowing in both directions.
Yeah. No, I haven't done a lot, but I do know that in Massachusetts, any excess you produce goes on to an auction site where it gets sold, bid on and sold to companies that are required to meet a certain percentage of their energy use has to be from green energy. I do know that. And I know in Maine that any excess you produce, you can use it, the credit you have can be used to another property you have, or I can give it to somebody else.
I understand the demand issue. My house is all electric. My house is heavily insulated. We were actually, I don't know, 15 years ago when we built it, or whatever, more than that now, we actually were on a tour that the town had of energy efficient houses being constructed at the time. We were the littlest house of all the houses being built. There were people with 3,000 square foot houses, 4,000 square foot houses. Ours was only 1,900. And when my wife and I are there alone, our electric bill in the winter is $350 a month, and that pays for everything.
Yeah.
During COVID, I had 3 adult children living with me.
Yeah.
My electric bill was almost $600.
Yeah.
We weren't running any more heat.
Yes.
We were running hot water,
Exactly.
washing machine,
Yeah.
dryer,
Yeah.
2 stoves, the whole bit. So I can understand where the demand is a tough thing. But with you only have 2 living in your house?
Yes.
You should be able to get a good pattern of what it is, hopefully.
I do.
Okay.
Brian, can we take this back to the Energy Committee? I mean, I think a lot of us here, at least I have solar panels, but I don't understand all of this. And they can meet, Barry's there, and we can have a conversation, and I thank you.
The conversation's been had, and that's where we're at.
Any other board members have any comments or questions? Any more discussion?
I think it's a shame when I can go and turn on everything in my house and drive the demand up. Shouldn't have to do that. And that's what that 90% is about. It's try to build an energy efficient house and you can produce less. I don't understand that rationale. Anyway, I'd gladly talk to the Energy Commission anytime.
Well, thank you for coming in and
Okay.
having us think. And I guess, Barry, you have one quick comment.
One quick comment. I don't want to beat this to death, but maybe people aren't aware. You can sell your rec credits. I'm selling mine right now at the Armory. It's done through your installer. Our installer, my installer, yeah, our rec credits are getting sold.
Yeah, ours is too.
You can do it. We're doing it right now. We signed up. It automatically gets deposited in our account. And as well, at the end of the year, we do a true-up check. It's not as though you can't. So anyways, that's my last.
Okay, thank you. If you have some more concerns, please go back to the Energy Committee, who has the knowledge, I think, to understand better than at least I do on what you're talking. But thank you for taking the time to come to talk to us. All right, we have another appointment on the agenda. Claude Rossinger, you want to talk to us about electric lines?
So, I'm Claude Rossinger, and I would like to speak with you briefly, very briefly. We can do this simply. It's a long story, but I'm not going to tell you that story. If I need to, it'll get told another time. I have made a summary, which I'll hand out. It's a page and a half, just for reference. But I would like to tell you the following. This story goes back 7 years. That seems a long time for something that was very, very simple. How simple? There's a line that runs across my field, which aesthetically is negative for my cottage, looking out upon it. And that progressed over the years because the lines went from very thin lines to much heavier lines. So at one time it was all but invisible, and then it became increasingly obtrusive over time. Now, the simple part. 7 years ago, I made the proposal that the line be buried across that field, going into the ground and going back overhead once it had crossed the field, and that I would do that at my entire expense. That seemed pretty simple. Certainly wasn't asking the town for anything. But I was told no, can't be done, technically impossible. I didn't think that, and I took the advice of a major commercial and municipal electrical engineering firm who told me it's done all the time. So I was turned down on a technical issue which wasn't correct. The proof that it wasn't correct came some years later, when the town, at its expense, buried 600 feet of line in front of the Doherty home on Cowper Road. And why did it do that? Because of aesthetic considerations by the Dohertys. Now, I'm in the Dohertys' camp on this. Don't take a word I'm saying otherwise. But I do wonder how that came to be, because my thought would be that on a public way, the town can run a utility line. Now, it's nice that they buried it, but how does that make me feel? So, the story is complicated, and it goes through many issues over time. It's complicated enough that I would recommend to all of us, including myself, that we not make it more complicated. And I then began working with Mr. Pinio a year ago. And I believe he used his best efforts to resolve the matter, but found that that couldn't be done either. Then, because of the installation of the broadband cable, which will be buried by the installer, Atlantic Broadband, it came to me that perhaps I could offer a compromise position. The compromise was to replace the insulated primary line that crosses the field, which is the visible one, by the way. The insulated line has a jacket around it. The bare wire does not. All the lines used to be bare wire. And you might think that, oh, well, insulated must be better. Actually not. Public Utilities Commission of New Hampshire recommends bare wire. All the towns around us use bare wire. But I was told, no, can't do that either. Now, all we're talking about is 1,200 feet of bare wire. That's all we're talking about. because the line will soon end at one more house from mine. The line to Cowper Road through the forest, which is in dismal repair, is going to be removed. That's why there's the new line up Cowper Road. So we're talking about a feed of 1,200 feet. We're talking about putting bare wire between 1, 2, 3, 4 poles. 4 poles. Not an arm and a leg. But I was told no there also. It seems that at every turn in this story, I'm told no, and I'm given technical reasons that when I check them with contractors, major contractors, I'm told it's not so. So what I would like to do is ask the board, since it's come to the board, I had hoped it didn't have to tell you the truth. It should have been resolved years ago. I'd like to ask the board either to simply instruct that the line be bare wire. That will resolve the problem. Or, if you feel you need more of the story, perhaps you could delegate one of your members to sit with me, let's say an hour, and I can give a lot more detail. I don't think it's necessary. It's pretty straightforward. And I do have the technical backup if you need it. Trust me. So here's the sheet. It's simple. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer, but I don't see why it would take more of your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it would be nice to get this resolved, and my God, simply.
Okay, I'm sure each one of us will read this and have a conversation with the town manager at some point and see where we go.
If you would, you'd be very kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a request from the Boy Scouts 165 and the American Legion Post 18 to sell water at the parade. Do I have somebody in the audience who'd like to speak to this? I know that they have done this for years, and I think it's been a plus to the parade. A lot of people buy water, they make some money, and a lot of people get hydrated. So does any board member have any concerns or questions?
No, let them go ahead with it.
Hearing none, can I have a motion by somebody?
I'll make a motion that the Troop 165 be allowed to sell water at the 4th of July parade this year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passed. We're moving on to the next item is McKinney Park request for commercial diving. Mr. Town Manager, are you taking this, Jim, or?
I am. So if you recall, in 2019, we discussed McKinney Park, and there was a heavy influx of commercial diving which was taking place there. They were commercial diving lessons to teach people how to dive. At that time, the Board of Selectmen took a stance that we were going to post a sign to say no commercial diving without Board of Selectmen approval. Since that time, we have actually found a document which outlines the deed of Mr. McKinney, which actually prohibits any type of business concession of any kind forever. So what I'm recommending for the board to do is to allow us to change that motion, which was made on February of 2019, from with Board of Selectmen approval to it's simply not allowed.
Board
And
members?
That would be keeping in concert with the will.
Does any board members have any issues? I think it's very clear from
Pretty
the deed that's in the Registry of Deed that that's what the town agreed to. I wonder whether we should change the sign to say, no commercial scuba diving classes or any other commercial activities allowed in McKinney Park, because I think it's any kind of activities.
Yeah, it very clearly states no business concession of any kind.
Yeah. So that's what I would support. Any other board members?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's pretty clear, the information that I have anyway, that nothing can happen there of any kind. So I would make a motion that we change the sign to what Jim has indicated, that no business of any kind shall transpire on or in McKinney Park.
Okay, I will second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
All right,
Should we,
one abstention.
should we make reference to this Lakes Region survey information or not?
You mean the Registry of Deed?
Yeah.
We can put it in you can put it in the motion.
Yep.
I don't think we necessarily need it on the sign.
No. I
Yeah.
was thinking on the motion.
Okay. We'll add,
So,
we're just seeing if we got a number or anything here. It must be recorded in the Registry
Yeah, it
of
is.
Deed under the estate of Edward McKinney Jr., death October 21st,
there's a
19...
probate number.
And a probate number of $15,382.
Yeah.
And we'll just add that to the motion, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a municipal electric department capital project update.
We have three capital projects. One being the simple, the bucket truck, which was a 2020 warrant article. That bucket truck has been ordered. It was ordered in December. We came in under budget, but it's still a 10-month lead time on that, so we won't see it till December. So things are a little slower with everything that happened on the COVID front as well. So we're waiting. It did come in under budget. So.
I have a question.
Dave has a question.
Question, Barry, on this sheet that we got.
Yep.
It says that the RFP issued for the bucket truck on 12/4 of 21
Yeah, I'm sorry. That
should be 20.
That's a 20.
Yeah, right,
that's
that same thing.
And the same with the bids due on 12/16 of 21.
Yeah, that was. I'm sorry. That was my bad on that.
I think that
We haven't made there yet.
you have an issue here.
No, I hope to have the truck by then. So.
Well, that's what I saw down further, and I said,
Yeah,
something's not
doesn't
right.
jive. My bad.
Okay.
So the chassis was awarded to Liberty International, and the bucket and body were awarded to James A. Kiley, which would be the similar trucks as we operate now. So conversion phase 5 was a 2020 warrant article that had two major aspects to it. One was to build a new substation down here, Glendon Street parking lot. The second portion of that was to do the conversion work, new poles, wires, transformers, insulators, up North Main Street and down Forest Road. That project I'll go back. The substation project is completed. We had it energized at one time. When we went to do the startup testing, we had an issue with one of the recloses. The recloser is basically a circuit breaker. It's hanging up mid-operation. Still working on a resolve for that. There's parts being shipped to us that are back ordered. Won't have them till August. And so I don't dare put any new load onto that new substation until we get that resolved. As a result, the distribution conversion work that took place up Friend Street, North Main, and Forest Road, that's like 99% done. Next week we'll be done. I can't do a conversion. I can't actually do the outage and have a day of conversion work until the substation is operational. So I'm going to catch 22. We're in a holding pattern with that. But the actual work, the physical work, the prep work is completed.
I am assuming, Barry, that is under warranty, and it is...
It is. Yeah, there's going to be no cost to us.
Okay.
The downside is the delay.
Well, the delay is one thing, but delay in a cost would be something else,
No.
so it's still under warranty. Okay.
It's absolutely being covered by the manufacturer, but the part is back ordered. It's really a simple little part, but it's holding us up. And I don't dare put load on that. I could rig something, but it's brand new. I don't want to do a temporary fix and with customers on it and then have to have an outage because of it. So I'm comfortable holding off for the summer. We also have, our influx of summer residents here at this time, so a conversion, because we missed the pre-Memorial Day influx. I think we're just better off waiting until after Labor Day and do it all at once. So our contractor is okay with that. I'm okay with that. We're just going to wait. The remaining project is the conversion phase 6, which was a 2021 capital project. The engineering is complete. That's been bid out. It has been awarded to USA, who happens to be the same people doing the in town now doing the conversion 5. We got good pricing on that. We came in under budget. And so that will commence. In fact, we signed, Jim, you signed the contract yesterday for me. We should anticipate seeing pole sets beyond the Forest Road intersection of North Main Street here within the next 3 weeks. Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. We did get good pricing this time, so we're comfortable with the finances on all 3 of these projects. One of the things I know I had promised that we were going to do landscaping and some work on the fence down at the substation. That is still pending. We have approximately $500,000 left in that conversion phase 5. I fully anticipate that we'll do that landscape design, and that will be done in the fall down there to try to dress that area up. And certainly I think will help appease some of the neighbors' concerns down there. So that's where we're at. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Board members, anybody have any questions?
Barry, just one item, and I think you can clear it up pretty quickly. Somebody had asked me today, so I'm sorry if I'm catching you off guard. How long before those poles are removed?
So I'm assuming you're talking about the dual pole sets,
Yeah.
and this is always a concern. We've got 2 poles everywhere, and we're still waiting. Cable company, most of them have been transferred to the new poles, but the phone company still has 3 cables on the old poles. I'm at their mercy. I think we can lean on them a bit, but I think they have up to a year to make that transfer. So you're going to have to bear with it through the course of the summer. There's no question. They're going to be there.
Thanks. I think that answers the question for the person who was asking, and if they're watching them, I'm sure they'll be satisfied with that answer. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll stay on them.
I thought there was a time limit, Barry, that the phone company has to transfer their
I
wires.
think it's a year. They have a year time frame on a project of that nature.
All right, let me check, because I've had that same issue where I am, and the timetable was, it seems to me like it's like 4 or 5 months they have to transfer their.
Okay.
If you have
check that, because we have them on a contract.
I will check on that tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll check that contract, because they are bound to that, but
I'll check
those
with,
of us who have dealt with them.
I'll check with Gary tomorrow.
All right, yeah, thank you. You have a contact.
Thank you, Barry. And this is capital outlay, capital projects, warrant articles, and this is another report. We have one from Dave Ford on all his, and this is from the electric company, and thank you for getting that to us. The next item on the agenda is in Parks and Rec, Pop Whalen rates.
Yeah, Madam
Mr. Town Manager?
Could we table this to the, I believe it's this July 7th meeting, please?
Board members, can we do this by consensus? Are we comfortable tabling it, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All righty.
She doesn't have somebody that needs a contract.
No, I'm assuming she's...
We're in good condition.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is the annual budget report, and I'll say this to Jim and to Amy. Let's see if we can get our department heads in the beginning of the agenda so they don't have to wait as long as our finance director did tonight. We've tried to do that in the past and be respectful of our department heads in the amount of time they have to sit around and listen to us, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Kathy Carpentier, Finance Director. This is my first time presenting before you. We're 5 months through the fiscal year at this point, which would be about 42% if all our spending and revenues were straight line. But we're currently at 43.5% for the general fund, so we're just slightly above a 5-month average. I'm not aware of any areas of concern. No department heads have brought any areas of concern to me. The revenues are trending right where they should be. As you know, the tax bill, the first half went out. We'll start seeing the collection of that, but we hope the whole bill when it's billed. Pop Whalen is running around 56%, but that's going to pick up at the end of the fiscal year. And that is about all I have. I will tell you that in June we just cut the check to the trustees of the trust fund to fund all the funds. That check is being cut this week. Met with the trustees on Tuesday, so we know where that money's coming. Met with IT, the Block 5, our third-party management company, and we're trying to look at projects that we'll be bringing to you for the fiscal 22 budget. So the financial things that we've been working on.
Any board member have any question, concerns?
No?
Thank you. Good report. Looks good. All righty.
Were sent to the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank yesterday for the funding of the Phase 6 electric project that we just spoke about.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the commercial vehicle landing permit location. I don't know who's going to do this. Jim, are you going to talk about it, or?
So I think one of the items that we've discovered here is we are recognizing some smaller crafts coming into our commercial docks. It is a little bit challenging for those smaller vessels to get people on and off of the boats. We've looked at alternative options, but I think this is an item that we need to discuss going forward and try to create a better solution for these smaller vessels to safely board and off-board their customers. We have looked at a couple of spots down at the docks, which we've got currently the 15-minute parking space which standing from the shore would be the right side of the fireboat. And I think the other question would be the location of the municipal electric boat. Should we move that back a slot and utilize that for either 15-minute parking or for those smaller commercial vessels? But I think it's a problem that we're going to have to address. We're seeing more of these smaller vessels come forward, and we need to be able to provide a safe avenue for them to load and offload. Where the Millie B is currently parked, that's a great spot. They've had that spot for a long time, and it does provide a platform to walk down so that there can be safe loading and offloading. I know Linda had went down and taken a look at it with Amy. I'm not sure if you've got anything you'd like to add, Linda, before.
Well, I guess the one thing I'd like to add is a discussion when we were looking at extending the docks from one of the members on the committee who is an island resident. And he said one of the things that Wolfeboro is lacking is enough 15-minute drop-off spots, and that he was looking for another drop-off spot. So I was wondering whether we do move that electric boat down, giving us 2 15-minute drop-off, and then allow those smaller boats to use it, come in, drop off, pick up, and go out. So we would be able to accommodate the smaller boats. I believe very strongly that we should make it happen for these boats. It reminds me of what we did for Wolfeboro Jet Ski. We found a dock for them to have a place to tie up their jet skis. And I believe it's important for our community as a recreational center with these beautiful lakes. So I don't know how the other board members feel about it. We have somebody here who I'm assuming you're from one of the smaller boats. And shall we hear from him and then do some further talking on this? Does that make sense?
Thanks for hearing me out. I met you guys over Zoom when you granted the commercial vessel landing permit. I'm Torrance Stegmeyer. I own Wake Winnie. Wake Winnie 1 is one of those smaller vessels. And I appreciate you all try to figure out a solution to the conundrum we kind of find ourselves in. We do sort of need a solution. We're currently taking bookings for this season. We're already operating for the season. I have gone over all of the town codes, and the one thing that I cannot quite figure out, the Millie B is docked at the commercial dock of Wolfeboro. It spends the night there. It puts up its own signs. It says Millie B parking only. To me, it seems like a great solution to share that space. I know I'm not the only commercial vessel landing permit, the only small boat that needs a small dock. They're a small boat that needs a small dock. I'm a small boat, and I think we granted 2 others, possibly more. I'm just trying to figure out where in the bylaws of the town does it say that the Millie B gets the rights to that dock? What has granted them the rights for that dock? How do I, as a small business owner operating tours on the lake, get the right to park at the town of Wolfeboro commercial docks? I don't want to use the word fair, but I just want to see a path that I could eventually take to get to where they are. I spend a lot of money to dock my boats on this lake, about $4,000 per season. I don't think they pay any higher fees than I do for the commercial vessel landing permit. I'm not looking to complain. I would just like possibly an answer and a path forward that I could do that same thing, because I'm quite envious of their situation. They make great money doing what they do, and it seems like it's at the expense of the town and everyone else that could be sharing that space with them. And that's, I guess, just an opinion.
Thank you. Board members? Dave?
I know that the dock where the fireboat is and the other dock spaces we have are all the same level. Am I correct? Pretty much the deck levels are all the same?
In terms of getting out.
Except for where the Millie B is. It looks like that particular dock, at least in the picture, and I haven't been down there for a while to look. But I'm assuming that this dock looks like it's about twice as high. The deck surface is twice as high as where the fireboat is. So I think that you a wake boat, you said? Wake boats, is that what you have? Okay. So they're going to need something that's at the level of our regular docks, I would think. Because most of us don't like jumping in and out of boats. At least I don't anymore. Back
Yes.
when I was younger, I might. But anyway, I'm thinking that what Jim has said, and I think Linda followed up with it a little bit, was about moving the electric light boat, possibly. The other thing I was interested in is, Luke, maybe you know, what's the distance of this dock, this one here beside the fireboat? Do you know about how long it is, 16 feet?
It's maybe 18. That is a very tough spot to land if there's any kind of wave action.
Just to ask the question.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Approximately 18 feet. Now, the other problem we're going to have, we're going to probably have to ask Barry if he can move his boat.
Well, it's just a suggestion right now, you know, but I'm sure he only has a few things to move.
We can work something out with him, I think.
I think we have the pressure that we could do that. Your comment about how did the Millie B get there? I think in 1996 the docks were rebuilt, and during that time there must have been some agreement. There is not one of us on this board who was there, and I don't know if we've been able to locate any document on that at this point in time.
We have not. We've looked for documents, and it could be one of those things that, you know, we may be looking at something else a year down the road, and all of a sudden something pops up. If there is somebody out in the public who's listening this evening who has an understanding of how that occurred and you want to reach out to us, we'd really like to hear it, because we don't have anything that we can put our hands on and says, this is what happened.
From my understanding with conversations with Kathy Eaton, the original owner of the Millie B, they hired the surveyor, they contracted the work to install that lower dock section for the commercial use for the Millie B, just out of the goodwill of their pocket, just so that they could use it. I would happily fund a dock if I'm allowed to park there from now until eternity. That sounds excellent. Like I said, it is very expensive to dock on this lake, and a one-time purchase back in 1990 or whenever it was funded. I wish I had the opportunity to do that. And again, I'm not trying to throw around the word fair here. I just want to know how I can do what they're doing. And I know you guys spend a lot of time, you do great work here, and it's all down to the T. We're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and we're playing by the rules. I just want to know the rules that I'm playing with. And I'm trying to operate a great business. I'm trying to take people out, keep them safe, keep them happy, and just logistically dealing with Amy, there's not a solution. And that's the center point of our town. Big investments are going into this space. A lot of people are going down there. It's a huge liability. It's a huge attraction. And it just blows my mind that we don't have an answer, but I'm going to just have to wait.
Well, I think one of the things is what we did in 1996 and what we do today are very different. And so that I would say at this point in my mind is grandfathered. It's run by one of our nonprofits. What I would like us to do is what we did with the jet skis, be creative and find a way for you to come in and go out. There is no way we have enough space on that dock to allow all the people who have commercial boats to be able to dock there. We couldn't even get the docks extended for the number. That's my personal opinion, but I would feel very comfortable getting an extra drop-off space so it becomes easier. And as Luke says, that's a tough space to get in. So let me pass it around, let you get the feeling of everybody. I'll start down here with Brad, and let's see where we go.
I have just one question.
Okay.
Do you have the ability to go under the bridge? Do you have towers that can be dropped, or is your boat too tall?
It is too tall. From my understanding, the Millie B is low profile enough to fit under the bridge. They do have waterfront property that they don't have to pay taxes on due to their nonprofit organization, they could afford to build a dock and park there. And that would be a great gift to the town to open it up to these new businesses coming in.
Okay, I'm going to start with Brad and come around.
Maybe start off for my comments with a quick question. Have you had any issues on when you've got a party booked to be picked up downtown of getting to the docks to be able to pick up the group at a time that you've arranged for?
I've never used the town docks for commercial loading until this year, since I've been granted permission. Again, dealing with Amy, just logistically, we're trying to figure out where we can pick up. And that's really what I'm looking for.
Okay.
We've just been coming to any regular old space at the town docks for the 3 groups I've picked up over this weekend. But again, it's, according to these rules, it's not where I'm supposed to do it. And I don't really feel comfortable with that. Part of the stipulation to get the permit was to get insurance for the commercial dock. Unfortunately, I can't just blanket every dock in Wasaki through my insurance.
Right.
And that's essentially what I'm being asked to do by not designating a spot.
So, that being said, I think I kind of agree with what you were talking about, Linda, there of probably moving, Barry's boat there to open up that slot there for another 15-minute drop-off so that this could be made for, groups like you to be able to come in, unload or load up with your passengers, knowing that there isn't going to be a boat parked there, or you're going to have to hunt around for a space or hover out front like everybody does, waiting for a dock space there.
We'll have to sign it.
We'll have to obviously sign it, right? Yeah. So that people don't go in there and just park there either. It'd have to be, definitely marked out for that use right there and stuff. And I think that would, at least right now, under the rules that we have there in place, would give you the opportunity to be able to come and go as you need to function and to pick up your groups and stuff. So
this weekend, just as an example, the 3 groups I did drop off, I went to the regular parking. The 15-minute spot that is designated currently was occupied all 3 times. There, you are correct. The 15-minute spots are in high demand. I don't think the commercial vessels can operate business in those spaces because they are used heavily. So if it is signed as a 15-minute space, I don't think that's going to be a solution for the new commercial vessel landing permits.
I will say we had a small boat other year that came and got a ladder and landed at that commercial dock and got their people on and off. So when you came in, that's what I was thinking you were going to do also. And shame on me for not asking you that question at that time, because that was one of the stipulations. I think what we're now trying to do to see if we can find you something else. Dave, do you have any other comments? If not, I'll go on to Luke.
Yeah, I think that maybe for this year, if we can get that electric boat moved and utilize that space for now.
Second time.
Until we can either look at the Millie B dock and putting a step down like they have, something in that area, and then that gives all our commercial landing all in one place. But we'd have to, couldn't be done this year because we're not budgeted for it. We'd have to budget for it for next year. My recollection of the Millie B was that they came to the budget committee in that situation. Budget committee turned them down, so they paid to have that berth put in there. And I think that's why they're there and why they've always been there. But that's some other issue. But I think we ought to look at this area to put another step down like they have and make this another commercial dock space. But maybe for this year, we just move Barry's boat back one space and utilize that space. That's what I feel.
Luke?
So Dave Ford and I met with, I think it was the engineer over the winter, and that exact discussion actually came up about dropping down that other tall dock on that left-hand side down again. And that was going to be added into the permitting going forward for that whole commercial area for the Mount Washington. So I think we should follow up on that, but that's definitely in process. So that will be another area to have where there'll be a staircase down and a cantilever dock that will be low enough. I do hear what's being said, and I think the point that Torrin's trying to make, that if we just put a sign up that just says 15-minute loading and unloading, that he may still find himself in the same situation where, or the other commercial vessel may find themselves in the same situation where they're coming to the town docks, and that could be occupied all the time, you know, because it's going to be one of those, just an extra spot. And I didn't know if maybe the board would be good with this year only, just saying, you know, making the sign clear that it's for
Municipal docking only.
or, I mean, just to make it clear that it's for, you know, for, somehow make it clear that it's for these two commercial vessels for this year. I don't know if we can do that, or that's my thought. And then I think that, you know, he does bring up a good point about the Millie B. And I don't know, I think that's something that we need to talk about. And, you know, if we can't find anything on it, then going forward, that needs to be addressed in one way or another. That is, not one company shouldn't get the benefit of something that happened almost 25 years ago at this point, when other companies that are getting approved for landing permits are not getting the same type of treatment. But let's get through this year and get you something that will work for you and the other vessel.
Brian?
Luke, based on the dock plan that you saw, will you only be able to fit one more small boat at that drop down?
One more, it would be one more spot, yes.
How long of a boat?
Probably at least 25 feet.
Yeah. That works for you? How big is the other boat that we permitted? That was about 25 feet, wasn't it? The other vessel
I think
landing?
somewhere's like, I don't know, I didn't keep any of
I
it.
don't have that with me, but we
I
can
don't
look
have
that
any
up.
of that information.
Hey, Luke, maybe it's time we get a harbor master.
That's another discussion I've been thinking about.
Okay, boys, get ready for the budget.
How much feet of docking space do you need for your boat?
Honestly, like 10 feet. If I had a clear 10-foot section, but, you know, I don't need to tie up. We're just coming, loading, unloading, real quick.
And Barry, if we were to move your boat back 10 feet, would that hinder you too much?
One of the reasons we really wanted that end spot is because when we didn't have it, we were getting blocked in there, boxed in, when we needed to make a quick trip out. So that's why we preferred being on the end, so we're not.
Well, go on the other side of the dock.
Okay.
Go on the other side of the dock.
We can. We could go to the other side of
Yeah.
the dock, just that
Exactly.
dock.
Just go to the other side of the dock.
We can solve it another way.
All right. Why don't I put together a plan to bring forward to the next board meeting?
Yep.
And
Okay. I have a couple things here, and what I'm starting to hear is that we are going to start taking recreational dock space, and now we're going to let commercial people use it. It's marked for them, or they pay money for it, and I'm against that. We can look into what's going on with the Millie B, but we have not enough recreational dock space as is. We did not get the extension passed. I don't want to go, we give them permission for this, it's just going to grow. So at some point, this board has to decide what they want to do. Either we have X number of spaces and we can lease or license like we do the jet skis, or we really shouldn't have anybody doing it, because I can see the ball starting to roll here. If we do anything in terms of change, we need to do an ordinance change, and there would have to be a public hearing. I don't want that just for commercial. I think we have island people who have a very hard time coming in and dropping people off, and that was what that one spot is. I'm willing to go to 2 spots and allow the commercial to come in, hoping that there will help both groups. But I think we have problems with 2 groups, and I'd like to be creative and try to do that and see how that works. And then this board needs to have a discussion about what we're going to do with docks and what ones we call commercial and what ones we call recreation, because when I left read the ordinance, it was not well defined between commercial and recreation, and I think we have some work to do on that ordinance. So, Brian?
Yeah, I think we should all go down there as a board, and we should look at this together. I really do.
We have to notice it as a meeting, as a work
Yes,
session. We
absolutely.
could do that. I've been down there a number of times to look at it, and I'm with Luke, that little area where that one drop-off is kind of hard to get in, so it'd be nice to have another spot. Is the board comfortable in our thinking that we would look on the other side of the dock, the other side of the electric boat, and let Jim put something together?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll get something together next week, or for the 7th, rather. And, well, if we're going to meet the 23rd, I should be able to have something quickly for that, for a quick discussion, if that works.
Okay. We're trying to find something for you.
Thank you very much. I'll just keep finding spaces as they come up.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a Class 6 road intermunicipal agreement.
So,
is it really a Class 6 road, or is
well,
it a road? It's not.
So it's a mix of Class 5 and Class 6 roads, to clarify the topic. So one of the things that was brought to my attention when I first came into the role of town manager was we had a problem out in the North Wakefield section of road, which you access from Wakefield, Route 16. You actually have to go through the Wakefield section of North Wakefield Road, which is Class 5, and then you cross into a Class 6 road in Brookfield, which is titled Genis Road. And then you cross back into a Class 5 road in Wolfeboro for a couple of miles before it transitions back to a Class 6 road. I had been approached by the Director of Public Works, Dave Ford, about this, saying it's a problem, we need to get something figured out. So we worked with the town of Brookfield through our legal counsel, through their legal counsel, and basically what it does is this intermunicipal agreement gives us the ability to plow that section of Genis Road in Brookfield so that we can provide access for the people that live out there in that section. This has always been a contracted service for winter road maintenance. So this resolves that part of the equation. Additionally, within this same agreement, we have a unique situation at the end of Pleasant Valley Road where from the Wolfeboro Brookfield town line, there's 1,775 feet of Class 5 road in Brookfield that we have traditionally maintained. And the reason for that is the town line is on a hill, there's not a good point to turn around, and the truck just goes up to the end of the road, turns around, and comes back. So we worked with Attorney Puffer, with legal counsel from Brookfield, with the Brookfield Board of Selectmen, and we came up with this intermunicipal agreement, which the town of Brookfield has signed. Attorney Puffer is happy with the document. All I need from the Board of Selectmen is some input from you, authorize me to sign the document, and then this would get registered with the Attorney General's office.
You want to pass that in? I think I had the original in my packet because it's signed in a different color ink.
I think that's just it's a color copy. I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
We have the originals downstairs.
You do? Okay.
If there's any questions from the board, I would be happy to try and answer them.
I have one.
Go ahead.
On the North Wakefield Road in Wakefield, I've been over on that side as well. There's a bridge there.
Yep.
The capacity of that bridge is somewhat, I don't know what the word is.
Isn't that class
It's
6 here,
question.
the other side of the bridge?
Because I know that Adam Riley, the fire chief at Osprey Corner, goes that way as well to get up in there to help with mutual aid.
Yeah.
And he's had some issues with that bridge.
And is this a bridge you said in Wakefield?
I think it's in Wakefield.
So we do have a bridge in Wolfeboro.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I thought Adam told me it was a Wakefield bridge.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Check on that, because I would be, you know, I know we had fire trucks go up in there, what, a couple of months ago?
Yep.
So I don't know if that bridge was an issue or not.
There's a bridge in Wolfeboro on that section of North Wakefield Road, and that is a transition point from Class 5 to Class 6. So we do not own the bridge as a town. So that is very clear. Signage has been put up delineating that that is the Class 6 portion. The Wakefield section of road is all Class 5, so there should be a condition report, I would think, with the state on that bridge.
Well, you might want to just check on that.
Yep.
Because, again, I wouldn't want to be sending vehicles up there that are going to be a problem. And you might check just with Chief Riley as well.
Jim, does Wakefield pay to have their part of the road plowed and worked on? Because you go Wakefield, Brookfield, Wolfeboro, and if we're sending our trucks down, is there some kind of agreement with Wakefield in terms of, are they paying for some of it, or are they doing theirs? How do they plow and move the snow?
They take care of their own section.
Yeah, they take care of
the Wakefield section. We have traditionally always contracted a service to do the Wolfeboro section of the Class 5 on North Wakefield Road, and we would also do that 1,500 feet of Brookfield to allow access for our residents to be able to get to Route 16.
So in other words, Wakefield comes up, plows their snow off to the side, and then we send another truck up to go over the other two?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
actually a turnaround point right at the
Okay.
Wakefield, Brookfield town line, and that's where we would pick up.
Okay, thank you.
With a contracted service.
Yes.
We do not send a municipal vehicle out there.
trucks don't
Dave
go.
always has
We have somebody
that as
plow
a
it
contracted
over there.
service.
I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
That's what, Brad?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment or observation. I'm not surprised at all that Brookfield's already signed this. This is definitely a win-win for them. They're getting everything done by us, so I just wanted to put that out there, so.
So mutual aid is.
Yeah.
Well, we already plow all the way up on Pleasant Valley, because that's how the
Yeah,
plow
I
turns
know it.
around. That was kind of why I was asking the question about North Wakefield.
No, it doesn't make sense, so.
Yeah.
But
Does anybody else have any comments or question? I'd like to make a motion to have the town manager sign this intermunicipal road agreement with Brookfield. Do I have a
Second.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Here's another one of our department heads gets to wait until the end of the meeting. Next thing is the CIP guidelines.
So we've put together the CIP guidelines, worked with Tavis. We've gone through previous years. We've made some minor adjustments to the CIP process. One of those major ones is we put in here, we specifically identified prioritizing projects that may be eligible for state revolving fund and/or grant funding sources and stimulus money for shovel-ready projects. Director of Public Works has been putting together a series of projects to get them shovel-ready. We've been talking about shovel-ready projects for better than a year now, knowing that we were going into a pandemic. There was conversations about how we were going to deal with that in the future. So that's been identified in here as a priority, because if we're able to get some large stimulus funding, we obviously want to be able to look into this. Tavis, is there anything else you would like to add relative to the CIP guidelines at this point?
The only thing I would add to this, I did receive an email with a suggestion that number 12 be added. I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up yourself or if you wanted to...
If you have what I wrote, be my guest.
Okay, so the proposal would be to add number 12, basically saying if after submitting a project report or a CIP project to the town manager for signature, where there is a significant revision, it needs to return to the town manager to be re-signed, because there apparently is a history of projects changing without that oversight. So just to get that clarified. And if the board is accepting of these now revised 1 through 12, it's a very quick process to get to the planning board. The draft schedule that you have in front of you, I will admit I've never seen a town plan their CIP process 6 months out from budget time. So this is a learning curve for me, but here we go. That said, Lee and Hendricks are very kind to pull together a quick draft. Those things that I've identified in yellow are talking points, recommendations from some of the planning board members. That's why I left those in there. So I left, for example, September 3rd, SAU 49 is in there but crossed out. That was where Leanne had it, and the proposal was to move it up to August 20th. That frees up time for other items. Calling out August 25th, having Pop Wellens as a standalone, that's something that town manager and I had talked about, just to separate that out from the other projects. One of something you have to understand is much of this is inherited in things I've heard about past people in my position and past processes. There is some support. I haven't presented the whole schedule to the planning board, but there is some planning board member support of encouraging the budget committee to be invited to the first meeting.
That's the one that just, I have no idea why, when they get a full report on the CIP, and the budget committee does not write the warrant articles. They only recommend when they, so it seems...
The only input I have is there was some concern in the deliberative session about CIP generally being dismissed.
Well, the CIP is a planning tool. It is what we use, and I went back and looked at some of the items. We usually cut tremendously to the amount of projects that come in, and the CIP, and that's what concerns me about what's this year. Because once you start...
Mixing.
Yes, and drawing lines and getting people involved where their authority doesn't lie. I find that boards do the best when they stay focused on what they are responsible for, and as soon as we start this, we're apt to get into conflict. So that's mine. I don't know if any other member of the board has a comment about that, just for you to take back.
Yeah, I offered to share the information with the board, and I will share the board's feedback back with the planning board when I take the next step.
Any other board members have any comments or concerns?
Isn't there a budget committee member on the CIP?
Yes, there's one member from the budget committee, one member from the Board of Selectmen, 2 planning board members, and 3 people from the public, which I find so valuable because most of them aren't even involved in anything, and we get that everyday person's review of the projects. I think the CIP process is a wonderful planning tool. It helps us see things in over the 10 years, but it's an advisory document, and after it comes from there, things change. And so it is not at the deliberative session. And it's not by statute to play that role. So that's my only concern.
The one piece I'd like to add is I think I'm starting to see the trend. One of the reasons the CIP process is so involved here is because generally the department budgets are void of projects. Most of the department budgets are supplies, postage, payroll. There's nothing to do projects with. All of that lies in the CIP. So
Only those over 100,000. Anything under 100,000 goes into capital outlay. So that is where we get.
I'm wondering if that's one of the drivers behind the comments. But I will share Selectmen comments back with the planning board, and once they accept the guidelines coming from the Selectmen, I'll get the project forms out to departments and we'll be on track.
I think one of the other things is important to know, at least from my perspective, the representative to the CIP from the Budget Committee is heavily involved. He does a wonderful job, and he frequently notes the CIP process through the budget process. The other thing that Tavis and I talked very briefly about is potentially when the CIP formal presentation comes to the Board of Selectmen, is potentially having a joint meeting with the Budget Committee, present with the Board of Selectmen taking the lead on that meeting so that they can see the final product in that forum, as opposed to two separate meetings, which was requested.
I thought usually it is two separate. They do go to the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee gets the full presentation that the Board of Selectmen do. And it may make sense for us to meet jointly. It means that it only has to be presented once, and that if there are concerns, we both hear it. I have no problem with that.
Something to consider.
Yeah, because we get heavy in the meetings at that time of year.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much. The last item on the agenda is the notice to the public for the Tuesday, July 27th, public forum on beaches, rain date the 29th at 6 p.m. It's the Foss Field. The public is invited to attend a public forum to host by the Board of Selectmen to seek comments on the town public beach parking lots, Albee Beach, Cary Beach, and Brewster Beach. These are just some questions that I thought up and wanted to bring this here. We can change them, we can eliminate some, we can add some, but to give the public some kind of guideline on exactly what we're looking at. So if there's any of these you would like to eliminate or change, is there any discussion?
Do we know what time?
It's at 6.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to get this out. I'm hoping that we can get this out to the public and get their input, and if there's any concerns or questions, get a hold of me. If not, it'll go out as is. And we also are, in here, it also says that we will take written responses also. Anybody who comes to the forum gives us speaks, and they'd like to give us a copy of what they said, we will take any of that as we try to compile the information from that. Any comment on that? Hearing none. Other business. Anybody have any other business? Hearing none, we'll go on to committee reports. I'll start down here with Brian.
Okay, so we had the cable franchise meeting, and the general consensus at it was that we were going to wait to approve a new agreement, and that was approved by the board subsequently. Because right now, there isn't any benefits from a new agreement that we have in front of us. And it was explained to us that for 1 or 2 years, some towns are working on agreements and that it's not a rush issue. There was, I saw an update on the milfoil removal, and I guess there's been some very large patches in Back Bay that have been removed by divers, and people were monitoring it, making sure that it was being pulled out from the roots, and seems like that process is going along well. I had a couple of meetings with the Energy Committee about EV chargers, and we're getting very close. We're down to a short list so that we can present chargers to the town manager and to the electric department and the Department of Public Works for installation. Hopefully it will be done in the fall when the lot by the new train museum building is paved. We had an EDC meeting, and the business survey is 33% of the people mailed out to have responded to it. It's going to be distributed to the committee members. We had a discussion about beaches and talked a little bit about short-term rentals, but the EDC didn't take a stance on that either way.
Luke?
I attended a chamber meeting earlier this week. Also, I attended the meeting with you, Linda, at the Winnie Waters yesterday. And this afternoon, we had a Heritage Commission meeting. And that's what I have to report.
Okay. I want to announce that the chemical treatment for the frog pond for milfoil will take place on the 24th of June. So you see somebody back there. That's what they're doing. I attended with Luke the chamber quarterly meeting, and we also attended their executive board meeting. The assessing subcommittee of Wolfeboro Waters, I met with them. They are putting some forms together to get some of their watchers to give them the information in a set form. I met with the Friends of the Town Hall. I went to that Wolfeboro Waters meeting, the library trustees meeting, and they were pleased that they got their sign from the ZBA, and they're working on their new landscaping design. They picked a company to do that design, and I went as an alternate to the EDC with Brian. Dave?
I had one meeting with the Conservation Commission, and I just can't believe how much time it takes for those people, the stuff that they do, and the amount of time that they put in, it's pretty phenomenal. But that's all I had.
Thank you, Dave. Brad?
Yeah, last night we had a planning board meeting. No public hearings, it was a work session. We were going over a lot of our subcommittees and going over some zoning amendments that we're working on. This morning we had a Wolfeboro Community TV meeting. Went very well. And then last week we had a Friends of Living Museum meeting. Talked about a bunch of different things, the programs for the summer, which we talked about one this evening there with the animals and stuff. And one thing too came out of that is that the group would, well, I'd mentioned to you guys, would welcome one more meeting regarding the MOU there, to sit down and see if that can be ironed out or not and stuff. So just want to put that out. If I know Linda and Dave, you guys met with them before on that.
We haven't received anything.
Yeah, they kind of asked me to relay that over to you guys and see if we could, put something together on that. So that's basically what I just.
Okay, so we're supposed to reach out to them and set a time to meet?
That's what they would like, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Robert.
I can set that.
That was it for me.
Okay, I can set that up. Town manager?
Well, that ties into one of the questions that I had for the board. Do we want to schedule a Libby trustee meeting in preparation for CIP and talk about the direction that the trustees want to go for the 2022 CIP process. If you want, I can reach out to them and try to get a meeting scheduled for sometime in July.
I was thinking you mean meeting with the two?
Yeah, so I think we could tie in the CIP along with the Friends of the Libby in a single meeting so that we can make a determination which way we're going to go and if they're going to re-engage based on where we were at with the MOU.
Do we want to try to get that small subcommittee together first? And I'm more than willing to put that together and just kind of get a sense before we get to a regular meeting. Does that make sense?
I'm good with that. We can do that. We can meet the subcommittee and then see if there's an opportunity to go forward.
Okay.
And thank you for taking care of that. The roof is done. We only really had one section that was very problematic. It was a section that had been repaired previously. The rest of the roof they felt was in excellent condition. So they finished that up last Friday. So we're in good shape there. One question that I do have for the board is regards to, we're back into normal meetings. I don't think we need a decision tonight, but there's been question about if we should continue the go-to-meeting platform for citizens to attend remotely. I think it's just food for thought, and maybe we can put it as an agenda item at the next board meeting to discuss.
Do you know whether it's allowed by the RSA?
I believe it is allowed under the RSA because the board is fully present. And I know as well there is additional legislation which is being negotiated at this time to allow for the full virtual formats in the future. So we'll see what happens there. But I can get a legal interpretation from that and have it as an agenda item for our first meeting in July. And the only other thing to really go over, myself, Dave, and Linda met with Mr. Sims and had a preliminary conversation about the stewardship agreement with the Railroad Museum and the operating lease. Other than that, I have nothing else to report out on. Thank you.
Well, I guess that's one Dave and I forgot to list. Thanks.
Forgot about that one.
Okay. Any comments from the press? I see Alyssa's online.
Hello. No? I'm okay. Thank you.
All righty. Public input. Is there anybody who'd like to give us public input? Mary?
Hello.
Oh, Suzanne.
Yes, hello, Linda. A year or so ago, we drove over that stretch of land where you're talking about the road, Class 6, Class 5, Brookfield, Wolfeboro line. I pointed out to you the lack of signage that depicts where the Class 6 road starts and ends. And I think it's in the best interest of the town for liability purposes to have a sign put up that says, caution Class 6 road, or caution dead end road, or I'll leave that up to David to decide what the signage should say, but it's very lacking in warning for the traveling people that wander down that road what's what and where it begins and ends. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Absolutely. And I think the town manager has already started to look into how we deal with that and get some signage up.
Yeah.
Jim?
Suzanne, I'll double check tomorrow, but I believe signage was supposed to go up on the Wakefield portion at the bridge, which is accessed from 16. I believe the sign was supposed to be put up there. There was, about a month ago, there was a sign on the Wolfeboro side of that, and Dave and I also had a very, very preliminary conversation about whether or not we should bar and gate that road, but that was a very preliminary conversation. We didn't go very far.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to give any public input at this time? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to go into non-public session.
I'll make a motion, we go into non-public.
Do I?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Linda's yes. Luke?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
All righty, we're done.